Welcome to Safely Divergent.
Welcome. Hi, Kirstie.
Hello.
We're your hosts. I'm Eleanor.
And I am Kirstie.
Today we thought we'd start by getting us grounded so that we're ready to talk, because I feel like we already have scattered brains and we haven't even started.
I feel like I could use that right now.
We're going to do a little grounding exercise.
Yes.
Pretty common one. We did not come up with it.
No.
The 3-2-1 method. So we're going to, in your environment, it just helps you check in and be mindful. We're going to think of 3 things you see, 2 things you feel, and 1 thing you hear.
Okay.
This is an easy thing you can do anywhere, just to help regulate yourself, get you calm down, unscatter your brain so that we can talk for the next bit.
It is really like a helpful thing when you just feel like your brain is just going, and you're stuck upstairs. Like, it's to bring you back to your environment, bring you back into your body. And it sounds silly, but I really think if you practice these things when you're somewhat regulated, you can start to build them in when you're a little less regulated.
Got it. I will go ahead and start.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so 3 things I see just looking in my environment. I see our stones that are here to ground us and keep us. You got one on hand?
Yes, I do. Okay,
I see this iced coffee down here that your foot keeps getting very dangerously close to. It's in a danger zone. And I see our brain over here that we don't use enough, but it's always at the forefront of everything we're talking about.
You never know when you're going to need a brain.
2 things we feel.
I feel this rock that I am bringing down to nothing because I'm rubbing it so hard, and my leg crossed.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. 1 thing we hear.
I hear like a fan, like some sort of like low, like maybe it's the venting system or something.
You feeling grounded? You feeling like you can just take on the world?
I do feel much more just settled than I did 30 seconds ago. So it's
listeners, hopefully you can do that with us or do it on your own time. You take a minute.
Yeah.
Just to check in with yourself. Okay, so what are we talking about?
We are talking about the stressor that is hygiene.
And this is a big topic. There's a lot that goes into it. We're just going to share an episode's worth and then we'll probably revisit it. But it actually worked out really well because this was sparked by a listener writing in a question for us. Mm-hmm. And we read this question and we thought, this is something so pertinent. I'd say more to you. This is something that you think about and you talk about a lot within yourself. So we thought this would be a perfect topic. Do you just want me to go ahead and read the question that we got emailed? So it says, this is from Lana. She says, growing up, I had a really difficult relationship with hygiene. My parents would always push me to shower and brush my hair daily, but it never felt natural to me. I'd get overwhelmed, and honestly, I hated it. I'm a late diagnosed ADHDer. And they didn't really understand what I was experiencing. It often turned into like this power struggle. I know you can really curse. She says, now I have a child of my own and I'm noticing the same resistance. My daughter is neurodivergent too, and I want to make sure I don't apply the same pressure my parents did with me. How can I be more considerate of her needs while still helping her build the skills needed to take care of herself? It's a big question.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I just resonate with this like so much.
Mm-hmm. It's a perfect episode, a perfect thing to dive into.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you can relate to this. Do you want to share a little bit about like you as a kid?
Seriously, as a kid, it was always a power struggle to take showers and get my hair brushed. And I just didn't understand the need to do those things. And it was a battle for my parents to get me to do those things. And honestly, like it's still as an adult, a struggle. And I really appreciate Lena's wanting to shift that for her daughter and understanding where that's coming from for her. But
I knew that this was a struggle for you, like right when I met you, like not by like looking at you. You don't look like someone who doesn't shower, doesn't like to shower, right? But a decade ago when we were doing an internship together and we barely knew each other at the time, living in Hawaii, we were there for 3 months.
Yeah.
And lived in a little studio together. And I didn't realize this until the end of those 3 months, but you used the same travel size shampoo those entire 3 months. And it was not gone by the end of it.
Well, we were on an island in Hawaii, and there was a big bathtub that surrounded the island.
Salty bathtub?
A salty bathtub. So, I mean, I was in that daily, so I just took that as my water.
And for people that are listening, Kirstie has long hair. She's got a lot of hair, and you had just as much hair back then. And I just thought that was so funny that you could go 3 months using like a little, 2.4 ounce shampoo container.
And I've seen a lot of like things on social media of like parents being shamed for not bathing their children, or like people sharing these types of things and being shamed for not having a regular hygiene schedule. And I think that's what we want to like shift today, is like why someone might not be able to approach hygiene in a simple way that many others are able to. It's a non-thought. It's just what they do in a day. But that isn't how I feel about hygiene. And it's a difficult subject. But I really wanted to acknowledge Lena's story and just the shift of her acknowledging and validating her child's difficulties and that like generational challenge. Her parents probably didn't have the resources that we now have access to. So for her, being able to acknowledge what her daughter's going through is something that is going to help her a ton, that validating piece. That right there is just such a great start. And I think that is something to really, really find that balance between having these essential life skills of hygiene and also accommodating her dislike with hygiene. How do you validate that and still build these skills
without creating that power struggle?
Exactly. So that's what we want to try to get into, the why.
Yeah,
why be there?
Why is it so hard? I mean, that's a huge question. There's a few pieces that go into it, right? So hygiene isn't just like remembering to take care of yourself. It's not just I don't feel like showering today, or like just like this like blanket statement. It's very intricate. Mm-hmm. And for many neurodivergent people, this is a huge struggle. This is a huge difficulty. And there's a lot of pieces that go into it. We came up with 3 or 4 areas of difficulty that if this is something that the listeners can relate to, or your child can relate to, looking at these 3 or 4 areas can be a big help.
Yeah, because honestly, if you don't know what the stressor is, you can't accommodate it. So if you can start to break down and figure out, why is this such a struggle for myself or for my child, then you can start to lighten that load because you actually know where it's coming from. It's not just the overarching hygiene is no fun. It is all of these other pieces that go into it. So the first piece that we often like to start with is that sensory processing piece that many neurodivergent people run into, of having more sensory information coming in to process through, which can create a sensory overwhelm. So let's just think of our 5 external senses. So the sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, and how those can come into play when we think about hygiene.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that could go into this, but we'll maybe just share our experiences and things that we've heard other people say. So if we think about sight, a lot of bathrooms, again, we talk about the fluorescent lighting a lot, but that's the reality of a lot of bathrooms. You might also be distracted or bothered by like visual clutter in the space.
Yeah, I love you have like really great skin routines and you bring in great products for us to use. But I struggle because we live in a small space. So we have a ton of products filling up our shelves.
Our tiny, tiny bathroom. Yeah.
Yes. That visual clutter is something that, sometimes we get too much stuff on the shelf, and I'll ask like, hey, is there any way we could shift some things here? Or you've, moved some stuff elsewhere to help out with that. But I feel like in the bathroom aspect, visual clutter is something that I am more, penetrated by, and yours is more of the fluorescent lights.
Well, and like for us, I'm thinking of like our bathroom, and there's no natural light in there. So the options are either lights on or you're in the pitch black. And like right now we have like a light bulb that's
flickering
going off. So not only do we have like this awful like bright lighting, but it's flickering, and it's like the one right by the shower, of course, drives me crazy. Okay. What about some sounds that we hear? Like, I'm thinking like just in general in the bathroom. A lot of times there's a fan. Like again, with ours, if the light's on, the fan's on. They are connected together, right? Yeah. So we can't. There's always this background low tone noise going on.
And that's what I was going to say, is those low tones kind of keep that like internal monitoring system on guard, draining or trickling out our energy. And there's a ton of low tones associated in bathrooms. Like you said, like that fan that typically is in there to keep the moisture out, or you have flushing toilets, electric toothbrushes. Those things just add up over time.
Well, and one of the the glories of living in an apartment building is like when you're in the bathroom, usually your bathroom's attached or like separated by a wall with your neighbor. So every time they turn on the shower or flush the toilet, like you're hearing that in the distance.
Yeah.
Especially if you have sensitive ears. Like,
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's some examples. What about touch, which I think is probably a huge trigger point, a huge sensory overwhelm for a lot of neurodivergent people when they think about hygiene?
I think a big one for me is lotioning my skin. That's been hard of like, I can't handle lotion on the palm of my skin. I don't mind it other places, but like I have to get it off the palms of my skin right away. But then the experience of putting clothes over lathered skin or wet skin or like...
Can you imagine putting like jeans over like wet lotion skin? That's the worst feeling.
Or a tight bra, like, and you're stuck.
And then you're just like moist and warm and damp and uncomfortable.
That's why someone says, oh, just take a quick shower. It's all these experiences that are like going through my head when someone's like, it's just a quick shower. Not to me.
And for you, before even like getting into the shower, something that you absolutely hate doing is brushing your hair.
Yeah.
Right? You have such a sensitive scalp and that's such an uncomfortable thing that like that's a step even before you go through the whole steps of taking a shower.
Yeah, if my hair is not in a good state, that will be enough to push me away from showering because I'm like, that in itself is a whole activity. I can't do that and shower.
And then like the shifting of temperatures, right? So, I mean, I experienced this today. It's chilly and rainy outside. So you finally like get comfortable and warm in the shower and then you have to step out and you're freezing again. So like that like shift, that back and forth shift. Let's see. Yeah, smells.
The smells has been something where we've made a lot of shifts with the products we use because you think about like soaps and shampoos and conditioners and deodorant. You might go down the street and someone's wearing a strong perfume.
I have to give you like a 30-second heads up if I'm going to spray hairspray or dry shampoo or something that's going to like stink up the room because
well, that's not even like considering the cleaning products associated in bathrooms or like nail polish that are
strong smells for sure.
Yeah.
And then the last one is like taste, which isn't a huge part in a bathroom, but I like when we think of like oral care, oral hygiene, right? Toothpaste and mouthwash. It's such a fine line of like, for me, wanting like a really like minty toothpaste to like really feel clean and fresh and everything, but then like also having my mouth on fire. So it's that fine line of what flavor you want, like what you don't like.
We can't have horrible breath going out into the world. We don't want that for the people around us.
We also don't want cavities a bunch of oral problems. So we're going to brush our teeth.
Yeah, there's so many things that are like mouth cleanliness attaches to our gut microbiome and all the things. So there is a huge reason as to why we need to do those things. But it can be a bit of an overwhelming experience because those are kind of intense textures or tastes that we come into contact with when we use toothpaste or mouthwash. And I wouldn't say the problem here is one or two of these things, but it's when we start to pile these onto each other and they're kind of trickling out our energy reserve that they begin to really cause some difficulty or avoidance of wanting to do any of these things because it can become just a huge pile up.
Huge overwhelm.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's one area to consider and to dive into when you're figuring like, okay, why do I hate taking a shower? Why do I hate doing a skincare routine? That might be one area. Another area to think about is this more of like this executive functioning challenges, right? So hygiene is not just one task. We already kind of alluded to that. It's multiple steps that require like planning and organization, for example.
The shower. I know I keep talking about it, but it's like that planning and organization of a shower. Like you think of it just, it's one word. You're going to take a shower. But really what it is you have to set out your clothes. You need to get out your lotion. You have to take off your clothes. You have to get into the shower. You need to start the water. You need to brush your hair. You need to shampoo. You need to rinse the shampoo. Then you need to do a second shampooing. And then you have to decide what shampoo you're using that day. And then you need to condition. It's just this, am I shaving today? Like all of these things. And that's just in the shower. And then you have to get out and if you have long hair, maybe you blow dry your hair. There's so many pieces to it. And I envy the person that can just get in and they don't think about it. It's just like what they do. But that is not how I shower. I shower frequently now. I know, it's so shocking. but I do shower frequently. And it's still this like every time I'm in there, I have to think about the steps that I'm doing. They don't just come to me. I'm not just like, well, I shampooed, therefore this is next. It's like an active thought of what are my steps? What have I done? What do I need to do?
I mean, multiple times you have like maybe like an hour after a shower been like, oh, I did not rinse out my conditioner. Or like, oh, I did not, like I completely skipped a step. Like you said, it doesn't come automatic. It's not as easy as it is maybe for other people.
There's also the piece of planning and organization, that decision paralysis. We're in the winter right now, and so my scalp gets drier. So I need to determine which shampoo I'm going to use. We have a shampoo that helps with that, but then there's different steps to using that shampoo. That one you leave in for 3 minutes, and then you need to rinse and like apply something else. And so it's like this decision paralysis for me, where it's like, okay, it's not just straightforward. It's not just one product. I probably would thrive more if it was a 2-in-1 shampoo and I just used that consistently. So it's navigating that piece as well, which then brings us into the next piece that you really have to help me with, which is
time management.
Yeah.
You almost always underestimate how long these things are going to take you. We'll be like, if we have a time deadline, like we have to get somewhere, pick somebody up at a certain time, and you are planning on showering, and I'm watching the clock like, Kirstie, we have to leave in 45 minutes. There gets to a point where I'm like, I know it's not going to happen. Yeah. And you're like, I don't think I'm good. I don't need a shower. And that is such a regular thing, because I think you just think it's something that it is just, oh, I got to go take a shower. Oh, that's a 5-minute thing. No, that's not the case.
Even though I know it's not.
I know.
It's like I know, but I don't know. But I think this next area is something you actually have more difficulties with than I might. And it's that task initiation piece of actually getting up and doing your routines or doing your hygiene things. You aren't dreading it, but it's just you get stuck in general of that activation of just needing to stand up and go.
I mean, that's a problem for me almost every morning and almost every night. Like when I'm laying in bed and it's so hard in the morning and it's so hard for me to get out of bed, I'm hitting snooze. One of the reasons is because I'm thinking about like all the steps I need to take before, we like walk out the door and go for a walk.
Yeah.
And then same at the end of the night, I'm get to that point where you're like, oh, I cannot wait. I just want to like be in bed. I want to have my Kindle. I want to be cozy. And then you think of like, oh, I've got this like 8-step skincare routine that I have to get through. And it's like, then I just find myself like putting it off because initiating a task is really hard for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, we'll set timers, or I'll have you, like, do a countdown. I'll be like, countdown from 10.
We experienced that today.
Yeah, that happened today.
And there's 2 other areas that may be coming in play here, in addition to many others, I'm sure. But these are the big ones that we've heard of. These are the ones we've experienced ourselves. But that is emotional barriers and social pressures. The emotional barriers piece is we're in a stress cycle, or we're in a state of depression where we can't get ourselves to do the basic hygiene tasks.
I was going to say, I've seen a lot of people just like online, like saying things like their key like red flag of like, oh, I'm in a depression season.
Yeah.
Is really hard for me to brush my teeth, or it's really hard for me to take a shower. Or it's really hard for me to, XYZ. And like that is their key red flag of like, oh, here we are.
Yeah. As someone who has experienced a lot of season of depression, it's tricky because your depression shifts. You think like, oh, next time I get into depression, I'm going to know I'm in depression.
I'll remember these signs.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, one of the most consistent pieces that has been in each season of my depression is the dread of hygiene. The just getting into a shower, doing the basics, brushing my teeth is so hard. So I kind of start to monitor. Is this just happening for a few days around maybe my cycle and I'm just kind of lethargic and low energy? Or is this going on for some time? And that can be a key indication of like, hey, sis, we got to figure out how to move you out of this season. It can also be associated too with Delena's story. If her daughter has these negative experiences as she grows up and just doesn't want to do that. So we had an experience, actually us recently. We were at a friend's house and we went in the hot tub, and afterwards everyone jumped in the shower and like did their thing. And I was like, I want to do that. And I was kind of being shamed of like, Kirstie, like we were in a hot tub with a group of people, like
a group of strangers.
You need to get in the shower. And I have a bit of demand avoidance. So that pushed me even further the other way of like, I'm not getting in the shower. And like everyone was like trying to kind of like coax me in.
Like,
and
come on, just rinse off. Like you'll feel so much better. And you're like, no, I'm good.
We were in a group shower, by the way. Like everyone was showering on their own. I felt like everyone was trying to coax me in. Everyone was trying to.
No, it wasn't like that. But.
No, but they were like, you got to shower. And it seriously brought me back to being a kid of, like, you have to do this. This is what we do. And I couldn't. I did go home and I showered and I did my thing. But in that moment, it was out of routine and it was spontaneous. And it just really brought me back. I don't have many of those experiences now, but it was interesting to have that moment of like, oh my gosh, I remember this. This used to be regular because I was in like swim team and sports and all these things. So like it was, a demand put on
go
me.
Take your shower. Go, you have to, like that sort of thing.
They would even like come out and like smell my hair and make sure I washed it or like sniff my hands. And I'm like, I did it. I was in the shower. I think that just flooded back. So it's like this emotional barrier that many people could have based around hygiene. That's just my experience. But there could be so many other experiences where that avoidance is coming from past trauma that really just sticks and pushes you away from it.
I think another thing too that needs to be talked about is like the overwhelm of societal beauty standards, right? So like there's like hygiene of like, okay, you want to take care of your health, right? Like hygiene to like keep you healthy. And then there's like this extra step of getting your hair done, doing your makeup right,
getting your nails done, your lashes, your brows, the Botox, gua sha. The list is seriously endless. There's so many things.
And it can be really easy to get into like the spiral, right?
Yeah.
And it's so unrealistic. And
there's purpose in that, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the people advertising these things, they want you to purchase, they want you to buy in, they want you to feel like you have to do these things in order to fit in or look good. So it is trying to find that balance of what is it that makes me feel good versus what do I feel like I have to do? All of those things can really pile up. Like if we think of societal pressures, the emotional barriers, the executive functioning, and then those sensory processing pieces, that can easily get piled up and make you be in that situation that Lena was talking about of like, I didn't enjoy it. My child doesn't enjoy it. So what do we do? How do we make this better for ourselves?
Right. It's like one thing to like recognize like, oh, this is something that's hard for me. And listening to all these reasons, oh, that does explain why it's hard for me. But it's like, okay, and now what?
Yeah. And now what? Right. And I think that first piece is the validation piece. It is so helpful to just hear. Like, I think as a child, if I would have heard, hey, it's hard. It is really hard. There is a lot to it. Just that already would have started me off in a better foot. Then it's not an option. You need to do it. Like, just that validation of like, or someone trying to dig in to understand why it was hard. So there could have been more support there. But I think first and foremost, just to validate yourself, validate the person you're helping out, your child, your partner, whoever it be, just, we hear you. This isn't, just because it's easy for me doesn't mean it's easy for you. And I can understand that and I see that. Tell me about it. Let me hear what you have to say. I think that is a huge piece that can just lighten the load already. And then I think that next piece is building in a why. That's what shifted for me over time is when it comes to hygiene, it used to be because someone said so. And now it's shifted of like, why do I want to do these things? Why do I want to shower more regularly? Like, hey, if we want to like have nice skin as we grow older, we need to lotion our skin more than once a week or once every 2 weeks. Trying to see a bigger picture of why these things need to be done other than I don't smell yet. But now it's more of I want to take care of my skin. It's the biggest organ I have. Help build that why for someone or help them discover what their why is. And it can really help gain that motivation of that moment when you're like, I really don't want to get up and go shower. You know what? But it is good for me to rinse my skin off after a good workout. And when I rinse my skin off, then I also get my gua shaing in and I get to lotion my skin.
Find your why. And we talk about that beyond the hygiene episode, right? That's a huge thing. You have to have the motivation. You have to have the understanding of why.
And then I think that next piece is understanding these specific stressors. And if you can understand the specific stressors from there, you can tie it into accommodations. And that's what we want. Accommodate yourself. Like these aren't just magically going to get easier, but over time, if we learn to accommodate ourselves, we can lighten that load. But like you said, it'd be helpful. Like, please share yours. Let us know if you run into these things. And I think that's what we want out of this is like, we'll share. We open that door to be vulnerable, but we really want other people coming in and letting us know what those experiences are for them. It is nice to kind of know like other people do experience these types of things, but how we approach them and the accommodations we provide or our experiences are all unique within themselves. So please share.
Okay. Key takeaways?
Hygiene is hard.
Period. End of episode. Yeah.
Be kind to yourself. It's something that just feels like it's supposed to be basic, but for many of us, it's not. It is hard. So be kind to yourself. And I think the other one would be pick one of these areas that you can start to observe and start to kind of better understand. And from there, choose an accommodation. Start small, move slow. If you try to make an accommodation for all of these things, we can't maintain, right? Like we're not going to be able to keep these things going. So if we just pick one area, one thing, one accommodation, then it's like all of a sudden you have this routine that you're in and you've been doing it long enough that it's not a thought anymore. It's just built in. So then you can choose another area to focus on. But that big piece of just start small, move slow, and before you know it, you will have these built into your day-to-day life, and it will just feel a lot easier.
They said.
Can confirm that it does.
Walking example right here.
Yes.
That's right. Okay. Switching gears. Yeah. Scattered.
What do you got for me?
I am scattered this week. You know, you live with me. You know this.
It's true.
But I actually kind of stuck with the theme this week because when I was looking at different accommodations and stuff for this episode, I stumbled upon the history of toothpaste.
Okay.
And I knew that you were just dying to know. Okay. The earliest known toothpaste recipes date back to 3000 BC in Egypt. And they were making like a powder, a tooth powder, out of eggshells, ashes, and ground ox hooves. So a little different than the recipes today, okay? And then during the Middle Ages in Europe, tooth powders often contained crushed bones and brick dust, which I was just thinking, like, how horrible for your enamel. Like yes, it was cleaning, but it was taking a whole layer of
bones,
just
like rubbing against
brick
your teeth.
Dust.
I would not have thrived in these times.
You'd have no teeth.
Oh no,
you'd have no teeth left. And then it wasn't until 1892 that they made like the first toothpaste and put it into a tube, and it was like inspired by paint tubes.
Oh, okay.
And so they thought, oh, this might be a more accessible thing than using like a crushed up powder. And then fluoride, of course, was added in the 50s, which it hasn't changed too much since then, right? So there's not a huge history.
I think we're like kind of going back to the powder. Now I'm going to wonder if there's like bones. I'm going to check the ingredients.
We do use a tooth powder at night.
Is it ashes and tooth bones?
And ox hooves?
Ox hooves and bones?
We should probably look at the ingredient list. Yeah, that is funny that we're like going back in time. Okay, so I've got a pop quiz for you.
Okay.
I'm going to read different facts, and you're going to choose the answer from a couple choices.
Okay.
Which sweet substance, which now they know causes cavities, was once used in toothpaste to give it a better flavor? Was it either A, honey, or B, sugar?
Sugar. Okay. I was thinking like maybe sugar because like the grain.
Yeah.
Like
to go along with like the dust. And
no.
So they used to put honey into toothpaste, which obviously would taste good, but then you're just brushing sugar into your gums and in between your teeth. Okay. What do you think was the earliest form of a toothbrush? What do you think they made the first toothbrushes out of? Either A, a bundle of twigs, B, a piece of cloth wrapped around a finger, or C, a carved bone with like bristles.
I'm gonna go with C.
It's a good guess, but
is it B?
No, but I thought that one I
Those are all good
I was
options.
proud of myself for that answer because I was like, that I feel like is how I would brush my teeth back when, but no, a bundle of twigs. So
Really?
like fray the ends and then just like brush it around your mouth. I feel like you'd get like splinters, but.
Oh my gosh, like cheek splinters.
Okay, 3 more. Which ingredient, which now we know is very toxic, used to be in toothpaste for the medicinal properties?
Okay.
Mercury or lead?
Mercury. Jeez.
Yeah.
Unsurprising.
They put lead into toothpaste.
I think it's because you were just telling me about mercury poisoning with hats. So I thought that
Mad
was.
Hatter. We'll save
Yes.
that. No giveaways. We'll save that for a different
Okay.
Okay, so you're 0 for 3. 2 more. So we talked about how they used like what it was, eggshells and ashes and ground hooves, but there was another really abrasive ingredient that they would a lot of times use. Was it either A, chalk, or B,
I'm second guessing everything now. B, sand. Oh gosh, I would not.
It's
do
chalk,
well.
and can you imagine? It like makes me like squirm to think about the texture of having chalk in my mouth. Is just like the worst thing I can imagine.
What's that show with Regis Philbin?
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah, I wouldn't do good at that show.
No. You would not. We would not be a millionaire from that. Okay, 5th and final question. The Romans believed that toothpaste was most effective if it contained urine. This is true. This is the backstory.
Okay.
Because of the ammonia content, which turns out like that actually ammonia is a good cleaning product, but would not recommend brushing your teeth with urine.
Okay.
What other surprising ingredient was also included in early toothpaste formulas as a cleaning agent? So urine or ammonia, I guess, in general. It was A, wine, or B, tobacco.
I was hoping you were going to give it to me. Get one right if I feel like I'm not going to. B, tobacco.
It's a trick question. It's both of them.
Okay.
So you got it.
Okay, cool.
You got it. I was going to say, it doesn't matter which way you go. They would use wine and tobacco as cleaning agents.
Man, that would be
toothpaste.
A morning party.
Well, and then you throw the urine in there.
Yeah, woo. That, we have come a long way then, I guess.
I know. So at least we have nice, fresher breath now with the like spearmint or peppermint that we use. Do you feel educated with that now?
I don't feel like I did a great job,
No,
but
you
I did learn.
Fair
And
enough.
that's what's important.
Party trivia to tell your friends.
Yeah. I need to pocket it so then I can. I'll probably tell you later. Did you know?
I heard this really interesting fact today. You probably will. Okay.
There's a good chance.
That rounds this episode up.
Yeah.
Gerst, where can the people find us?
Yeah, check us out on social media or at safelydivergent.com. We have a blog there if you want more insight into hygiene and the breakdown of all of those areas. Otherwise, we'll have some fun videos and information on our social media accounts at safelydivergent.com. And we'll be back next week. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you loved the episode, please take a moment to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or follow and subscribe on Spotify. For a deeper dive into this week's topic, follow us on social media at Safely Divergent and check out our blog at safelydivergent.com. Our cover art is by Honor Heindel and our music by Obey Gray. As a reminder, we're just two people with microphones, a lot of thoughts, and some highly questionable hyperfixations. We're not your therapists, doctors, or life coaches, so please do not base major life decisions on our couch chats. Until next time, we hope your nervous system stays safe and social, and your to-do list magically does itself.
Okay, I think that's a good list.
Yeah.
It doesn't cover everything.